We are delighted to have Tobias Ellwood MP for East Bournemouth with us today, and he has requested to make a statement. Tobias.
Thank you very much. I didn't request to make a statement. I was actually invited by the organisers, but whatever it is, it's an honour to say a couple of words. Well done, firstly. I was involved in COP26. Really good to see Britain taking the lead, using its soft power to try and influence others around the world. And I'm really now pleased to see that this is now happening on a local basis. So well done to all those involved. There are so many stakeholders here in the room. And climate change, whatever you think of what's going on in the world, all the challenges that we actually face, climate change is the biggest existential threat that we all face. And until that penny drops, I'm afraid whether it's on an international, national, or even local level, we will not be doing enough to tackle it. And the message I took away from Chris Packham, who I'm sorry he's not here, he's such an advocate for this, but is the ability to take everybody with you. And my concern today is, and there aren't enough elected representatives here, there's a lot of representation. There's a lot of representation here, but there's not the elected people here to understand and learn and listen to some of the amazing facts and figures and concerns that have been expressed here today. And I'm really, really sorry about that. I will make that case when I certainly get back up into Parliament. I don't know how many councillors, I think we've got a couple of councillors from BCP as well. It's good, but where are the council leaders? You know, where are the portfolio holders for Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole Council?
Richard Drax, maybe?
Let's keep this civil, if I may. Otherwise, I might be here for a long time and probably end up.
You asked where we were, so we should ask where Drax is, surely.
You course you can, but then we can bounce off the room. Does that take us any forward at all? Might make you feel better, but it doesn't give us answers. It doesn't give us solutions as to where we need to go. And that's what we need to do. Because like I said, unless we're into this. Now, I have a defence military background. I'm chair of the Defence Select Committee. We know all the stats, the figures and bits and pieces. They've been mentioned all the time of what's happening. The ice caps melting, sea levels rising, areas of Africa becoming uninhabitable. What my study did on the impact of climate change was the fact that insecurity is the first thing we're going to see, in addition to having very hot days here in the UK and floods and fires and so forth. It's the insecurity across Africa where governments cannot cope with what's going on, and you're going to get mass migration as people decide to leave Africa. You're going to get impact on our own economy because we are internationally exposed, and we're going to see wars develop as people fight over ever resources that are more and more sparse. That is what's coming over the horizon. This isn't next generation's challenge, it's today's generation's challenge. That's what it is. And that, as I say, in the G20 as well, arguments will come out as to why the bigger countries aren't doing enough because it'll affect their economies. They want to win elections, and the last thing, if I can finish, I'm really happy. If you want to heckle me, you can. If you want to answer questions, you can as well.
What we're hearing is fear-mongering. What's your action?
Yeah. Oil companies.
Okay, I've only been given a couple minutes. If you want to interrupt me, if that's your place to have a pop at me personally, or please let me, you're shaking your head, madam. Okay, it's not my government because I'm not in government, okay? And if I may, we've been very respectful up to now, and you're actually making my point for me. Because if you want to know why other MPs, other councillors and so forth don't come here, it's because they don't necessarily feel welcome. And the point I'm trying to stress is that if we do not actually bring people with you, take people with you, then this will become another challenging problem we have to face. So, okay. Right. I do ask you, please, allow me to speak, and I'm really happy to answer any question on fossil fuels, on the big businesses, and so forth. When I was a little boy, my father worked in the United Nations, and we moved around a lot. At the age of 10, we had wheelie bins. I was living in Austria at the time. We had wheelie bins there, different colour wheelie bins, all the things we had. That was my first introduction
into understanding what is happening to the world and why we need to do more to change it. Absolutely right. I'm not proud of the length of time it's taken my government to get to where we are today, my government. It's Britain that needs to make this happen. But us shouting at each other, bouncing off the walls in here, is not going to change or affect things any faster. We need to take people with us. We talked about Bournemouth Council and so forth. The challenge, this is a reality check in Bournemouth, for example. People come to Bournemouth, it's a tourism town. We rely on tourism, they come by car. 3/4 of visitors come by car. Yes, we want more people to come by trains, but if you use South West trains, you'll understand why they won't. You'll understand what will happen to Bournemouth's economy if somehow that all stops. So you then need a cognitive answer to say, fine, the approach right now is to build houses on car parks. Well, why not turn the car parks into totally ones that plug into EVs and electrical ones? That, for example, would be the stepping stone. That would be taking people with you at the same time. That, for me, is what needs to actually happen. I think Britain has done well, but not good enough on the international stage, but we're not doing enough on the local level or indeed the national level as well. I'm embarrassed. Okay, I'll be frank with you. I'm very embarrassed it's taken so long with this daft issue to do with wind farms onshore. How can it be that one person is allowed to object? One person. That doesn't make sense whatsoever. So feel free to vent your anger at the Conservative government through me. I get that and understand it. The people that I have worked with, I think Sue Chapman's here and others, I've done my best to tackle things from inside. The fact that I'm here today is to listen and take things away from you. I want to actually work with you.
Thank you.
If you want to have a chat afterwards, I'm happy to hang around, okay? And I'm happy to learn and take these messages back. But we do need to work on this together, and it needs to be in advance where we do not alienate groups. And I distance myself from the cover. I don't read the Telegraph anymore, by the way, because they're twisting the stories as well. And perhaps this is part of the challenge as well, is that this is not necessarily generational, but some degrees it is. I'm not going to schools. The younger generation get this. They understand this. They want to lean into this. But we have some leopards that will not change their spots here. And that is the challenge that we actually have to face. But I'll end where I begun. Time is against us. You'd have thought there's an international issue that challenges our entire existence as such, that we'd be working together. But I'm afraid the issue of climate change is actually dividing us internationally. And we see that with China, India, and to some degree the United States not doing enough. Now, I've been slightly embarrassed by the absence of Britain on the international stage over the last 5 to 10 years. I don't want to go down why that's happened, that's another debate. All I'm saying is that we do have a soft power capability in the world. We can lean into this far, far more than we should do, but we're not doing that at the moment. And I certainly will pledge to continue my work and working inside, coming to events like here, willing to take the flak. That's what MPs, that's what elected people should actually do. That's what I would like to do. So thank you very much for bearing with me. Thank you very much for listening. If you want to ask a question, I'm not going to leave the floor until you've had your say.
Thank you. How can this government justify issuing new oil licences? And how can this government justify the retraction and protection of nature that we're seeing, considering we are in a climate and biodiversity emergency right now?
Again, I'm not in favour of that whatsoever. The details of that are again to do with the economy. It's also probably to do with seats as well, but it is absolutely wrong. And I was shocked when we started to sort of dig coal, the answer to do was actually connected with steel, because the steel requires the necessary heat. That was the justification. But I think if we led on COP26, if we step forward on the international stage to do something quite exceptional at that meeting, and then we're taking retrograde steps back with these announcements, such as the one that you're absolutely right to highlight. So I'm very, very happy to say that that's not for me, and that I'm not proud of my government there. Please don't take the idea that because I'm standing up here and I happen to be the Conservative, that I'm going to defend everything the Conservative government agrees. If you know anything about me personally, you'll recognise I do stand up occasionally, and I get a lot of grief for it as well, against my own party. And that is the other reason why I'm here. This is the biggest issue that we face, and I'm here to help you and support you.